Hi, here's a quick demo of this workflow and the HDA I created for using the Render Network API directly inside Houdini. It's a very plug-and-play system that automates the creation of generative artworks or any other projects that requires managing scenes and renders on a mass scale, like in a really streamlined way. It basically enables you to create very large amount of data without setting up like an expensive render farm or complicated file management. So here we have this node that's doing all the work and file management and scheduling. What this requires from you is the preset ID for the jobs that you want to send and your generic Octane RAW node, which is how you usually handle your scenes and export ORBX files or render out the XR files. So you just directly plug this in here and provided a preset ID. You can select RAW input. This means you can connect more than one RAW to it and it will process all of those, which we'll come to in a bit. So what this node basically does is that it facilitates the process of sending out jobs and receiving frames and handles all the file management in the background. It can be modified to do a lot of procedural generations and things like that, which we will get into in a bit also. In this case, we have this scene that's just like a generic procedural setup that creates these blocks in a given object, which I also have this seed value here connected to it. So it's like, here are some different seeds. And yeah, these can be infinitely modified. So let's go to the seed 7, for example, and let's say we want to render out a turntable animation of this and just get the result as an MP4 file that has the access lookup light to it and doing any other further processing to it. So we're gonna retrieve frames. We can delete ORBX files after we retrieve the frame, so we don't need, most of the time we don't need it after that point. We'll create previews. This is the MP4 file creation, and or it can be a PNG file. If it's like if this RAW node is a single frame, it will just create a PNG file instead of an MP4 file. Let's apply a color transform. Also, this has the ability to send you Telegram notifications throughout the process. So we'll just check these and paste our chat ID to it. We can also hide the chat ID. And so yeah, this is all set. You can also create like a recipe in Houdini so that you don't have to do this all the time. You can just call the preset you want and this will come with all this pre-filled out. So anyway, let's try to send this specific scene out and wait for its render to finish. So what this will do is create the ORBX files and then send them to the network, and it will start to wait for frames of that files and further process them. So here we have the first notification that tells us that it's starting to upload. We will fast forward this bit so we don't have to wait for all the frames to finish. Okay, so here's downloading the frames. We'll see it like gather these and create the video file in a bit. Yep, and here it sends us the generated video. And here it is. This was a bit of a lower sampled scene, so it's a bit noisy. But yeah, you can see the final result here immediately. So this is like the main process of how you use it. You plug your RAW to it and it inherits your settings and creates this work item as a result, which contains a lot of data associated with it. Like it's many XR files stored in the hard drive and the video file, which you can access directly by clicking and opening up the file. And this is already like a cool usage. We didn't even have to do anything in the render network process. We just clicked a button here and it did everything for us. Where this gets really interesting is that when you start to use like multiple RAW nodes, which like here's, let's say we have horizontal version, which is like this tight crop. Maybe we want to see this version of it. And we also have a still version, which just renders out this frame. And we can process all of these in a single click of a button as well. And in order to do that, actually we need to go into this node. We can unlock this node and go into this. And here we can see the process. And this part of the process is modular, so you can plug something after this and to further manipulate the rendered frames with your own process instead of just creating MP4 files. And you can create the system above too, that so that you can modify the scene before sending out to network. And here's like an example of this. So let's say we can use wedges to create like new work items basically to send out jobs. So let's say this is a wedge that controls the selection of the ROPs. So we have like 3 ROPs for vertical, horizontal, and still frames, and we can create an attribute for that called ROP select. It's just an arbitrary name, and we have a value list of 3. We have 0, 1, and 2. So this is the vertical, this is horizontal crop, and this is the still frame ROP. So when we cook this, we get 3 different work items for each ROP, and this means that this is now generating 3 different jobs to be sent to the render network, and we can just click send, and this will be all 3 versions of this seed will be rendered. And while we're at it, add random seeds. So we'll have a few different seeds and they will render out 3 different versions of those seeds, like still, vertical, and horizontal version of the same seeds. So let's create another wedge. Let's for this one, let's create 3 different seeds and let's call it seed, and let's make this an integer, and let's say a value list 7. These ones were okay when I tested it, so these are gonna be like the animated ones. Let's split these out by, if they're animated they will get these, and if they're still versions we will get a lot more seeds, so we can explore other seeds as a still, and once we're happy with those we can also render those seeds out as animations as well. So let's split based on if ROP select equals to 2, so this is the last ROP node in the system, which is the still ones, and let's create like so this, in this case the right ones are animated versions and the left ones are still versions, and we will have like 9 or 10 different, this time totally random seeds between like let's say 20 and 1,000. We want to explore these areas and we want to pick 10 different seeds of still frames basically, so we can merge these. So in the end what happened is that we have 16 different jobs, 10 of them are still frames and the 6 of them are animated versions. So we have 16 jobs to send to the render network. So now what we have to do is that apply these variables that we created. So these have like ROP select values and seed values inside those work items. What we'll get is that we'll enter the ROP select variable here, so this will be driven by each work item's ROP select attribute. We also have to apply the seed values to the general seed of the system, and we will also apply the seed to each Orbex file's name, so it doesn't overwrite itself and every one of them has unique names. All we have to do now is to send to the render network, and it will process all these wedges and give us 16 end results. 30 this before we send it. Yeah, we'll once again speed up this process. All right, so all the renders are finished and they are starting to in Telegram. Unfortunately, I rendered out the still versions a bit too high res and it's exceeding the limits of Telegram. So here we have the final outputs. You can see we have all 16 items in here. We can look at the still versions like so. So here is the still versions, and I'll show you the video ones in the edit as well. So we have created a PDG graph that creates work items for us to be able to send jobs, and this also outputs like all the jobs in here, and you can further process them. And this was like pretty easy to do. We just clicked a button and we received like 16 items in around 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, and this you can actually trigger this system via Python from other sources as well. Like let's say you can have a JSON file, and every time the JSON file is updated outside, you can just trigger the system, and it lets you create like periodic outputs. So maybe you'll do like something daily or weekly and create something every day kind of thing. So this opens up uh, a lot of possibilities for you to play around and create your own systems and logic. So yeah, that's pretty much it.